Welcome to the Women in Business podcast. We've got David Frederick with us today from Marcus Bishop Associates, and we're going to be talking some finance for females, for women that they should be looking at. David, can you just give an intro to what you do? What's your company? What is your trade?
What
is you qualified?
I'm a 40 years experience chartered accountant, and Marcus Bishop Associates, we're 28 years old. I'm an accountant by profession, but also I specialise in probate, now in estate planning, effectively helping clients look after their wealth in life and in death. And my strapline normally is, there are two guarantees in life, death and taxes, and we can help you with both of those.
David, hit it. What have we got for us? What do we want to start with?
I want to start with the why. I mean, why they're looking at the finances. Then we can look at what is it and how. So, starting point I always think about in this situation is life's certainty and uncertainty. Uncertainty is quite the challenge because that's to do with long-term health and dementia. And all I'll say on that is uncertainty, you need to make sure you have in place a lasting power of attorney, because what you need is someone to speak for you when you can't speak for yourself. And there's a great myth here. People often say to me, "Oh, Dave, I've got a husband, I've got a boyfriend, I've got a partner, I've got a mum or dad, I've got next of kin." The great news is next of kin has no legal powers.
Do they not?
No, they don't.
Oh, wow,
next of kin is someone who they report to you, not take instructions from you. Wow. So if you want someone to speak for you, you must have in place a power of attorney, especially for health and welfare. And we saw during a period of the great pause, and a great example we could all remember was when the Coronation Street actress went to remove from the care home, her mother went to remove from the care home her own mother, and the police gave an experience in handcuffs because her mother had Alzheimer's. There was no LPA in place, and therefore she belonged to the state. So if you haven't got capacity, you haven't got lasting power of attorney, you haven't got any rights to remove someone from any care home.
And that's your mum. You were just going to do that anyway, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, it's in her best interest, isn't it? If you're a family member.
Yeah.
And that's a great myth. People think, oh, it's your mum, your brother, whatever, and so forth. And let's not get further. A few months later, we had a case of Kate Garraway, who went to the bank when David was long-term ill. And the bank said, "Sorry, Kate, we know who you are, but no LPA in place. We must safeguard the assets for David as well too, and we're going to shut down." And
so what do they do? Just freeze the account?
Yeah, because they knew he had no capacity, so they must safeguard the assets of himself as well too.
So how does that fare with her paying normal bills then? They're on the joint account together. How can she carry on paying bills?
If she had to pay a cash back, not to draw from the bank, because she didn't have an LPA in place.
Wow. I haven't got one, have you?
I've got one, yeah, but I think it's because I've got one for my mum, but I've also got one for myself as well. And I think after making a will, one of the things they said was to get an LPA as well for both health and for finance as well.
Wow.
That's right.
Okay, so that's something I need to think about as well.
Yeah, so it's not just a case of our parents, it's ourselves as well.
Yeah.
I think everyone should invest.
Yeah, because there's a great myth. People think that lasting power of attorney is for old people. To give you an example, there's a chap, 26-year-old chap, went out in his car to return vegetable steaks. He had a newborn baby and couldn't decide for himself, and that caused friction between his mother and his girlfriend. Who decides for him? In this situation, the court decided the mother did. That's right, as well too. So LPAs, lasting power of attorney, are key tools for everybody, because you never know what's around the corner in that respect. So that's the most simplest and the basic starting point, because I tell people, will is a one-off hit, you're dead once, okay?
Yeah, wow.
But you can be a long time without capacity. And without capacity, who will speak for you when you can't speak for yourself? And that's so important, you know, having that voice. So you choose, when you have capacity, who can speak for you.
And choose wisely as well. It's not necessarily a case of where
people fall out with people.
Exactly.
They do. They do.
Yeah. So we've covered LPA. Then how much does a normal LPA cost? What would that cost the normal person?
There's no such as a normal person. Give an example, okay? I know in deepest Essex, a colleague of mine says his colleague charges £3,000.
Bloody hell.
I know in North West London, over in Harrow, a client of mine's mother passed away, and about a year or so later, the lawyer called her dad in, and he paid £2,500 plus VAT. Okay, we provide LPAs, but we charge much less than that. at the end of the day. So it depends on who you go to. We go to for LPA as well too, and what advice you get. So it can cost you as little as a few £100s. Or if you want a creme de la creme, you can go to Essex and get £3,000. They all do the same job.
Is that something you can download from Google? Can I? You know, you get the will packs. Can
Right.
you download that and do that yourself?
Yeah, you can now from the OPG site download and do LPA yourself.
What's OPG?
Office of Public Guardian, the people who are responsible for issuing the last power of attorney.
Yeah.
And only 2 weeks ago, I was at an event and someone said that they did it themselves, but it took 4 attempts because they kept getting it wrong. Yeah. So if you can do it yourself, it's fine. But remember, when you do it yourself, you don't get the advice you may need with it as well too. So
Yeah.
I tell you, it's always horses for courses. If
Yeah.
you think you can, go for it. If you don't get it right, you'll pay the price later on.
Yeah, and I think you'll get the answer you're looking for if you look on
Yes.
Google, aren't you?
That's right.
You're going to get what you want
That's
to
right.
find, aren't you, until you find it.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, so we've done LPAs. What other things should women be looking out for?
Well, I think the most important thing people are looking at for, and women especially, is property. For most people, it's your biggest asset.
Yeah.
And the question I often ask people, married people, or single people, or people in blended families, how do you own your house? And the answer is on a mortgage, Dave. I said, great, but having a
That's
house
as
and a
far as
mortgage,
most people go, isn't it? I think I'm on the mortgage.
but what does that mean? It doesn't having a mortgage doesn't mean ownership. It means you have a new strain, you're not a debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. How you own your house is either joint or tenants in common, and they both have different effects because
Right, so I go to the bank. I get a mortgage with my husband or my partner. So there are these choices there then that I make at the time of getting a mortgage.
well, in fact, you make the choice at the time when you sign your solicitor. Your
Right.
solicitor, when you see the solicitor, it's at that point you determine how you own your property.
Right. Okay.
Does the solicitor explain that to you? So that would be part of their service that...
They may well do. Some of them do, I believe, but they will set out to you what is the different types of ownership and the impact, because the different ownership types can have an impact on your planning straight away or later on. For example, if you own your house jointly, all that means is you both own 100%, and therefore that property cannot go into your will, because
Right.
it will pass outside of your estate.
Right.
Okay, and jointly means the surviving partner takes all. So therefore, let's imagine a case: you own your house jointly, and you've got children, and you pass away. The house goes to the surviving partner.
Yeah.
They have an obligation, as for them, to do the right thing. I'm not sure what the right thing is. I can't even spell right. Let alone right thing.
So there's nothing to do with your will then at all, is it?
Yeah. So if you want to make sure you determine who receives a share of your property,
Yeah.
you should not own your house joint. You own it tenants in common. Simple as.
So is that something you can change after you've done it? Say
You can for a price.
me and my husband did the mortgage 10 years ago. Can we change it now?
You can. Yes, you can. You can sever the tenancy for a fee. That's all it is.
Wow. Okay. That's
That's
also
all.
something to consider, isn't it?
It's all-
Wow. Yeah.
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 That's it. Okay.
We're divorced now, so it doesn't matter for me.
And that is a key part, because when you go in estate planning, for lots of people, they start with a will. And I think when you go to make a will, okay, the starting point is set out what do you own and how do you own it.
Together, so say most people bring different things to the table when they get married, don't they? So are you listing them separately? What happens when you buy things when you're married, like during your marriage?
Such as,
Other property.
well, if you buy it, say, if you buy it jointly, it belongs to both of you,
Yeah.
and the same rules will apply. And unfortunately, if the marriage goes wrong, the starting point for the divorce courts is 50-50 in that respects. But often you do see some sad cases in some marriages whereby one party comes to marriage without much and leaves after divorce with quite a bit
Yeah.
as well too, and that can be quite shocking.
Gold diggers, David. Gold diggers.
Well, we started in love and we fall out of love, and there's a price to pay for falling out of love.
What's the people make a career out of it, don't they? They deliberately go into. I have known a couple that.
What can I start?
That would be quite tiring, actually. I couldn't do that. No,
No, but we're nice people. So, but people do come into relationships, don't they, with nothing and want to leave with something. My ex, his friends were saying, take her for all that you can get, and there are people like that, aren't they? That are going to get the most they can, and then move up the scale. You must see it all the time.
Yeah, marry up. I mean, for example, okay, here's an interesting story, maybe quite sad. Depends how you want to see it. Young lady had a will. She also had a property. It's about £1 million, and she had 2 children. But then she fell in love. She got married.
We all fall in love.
Yeah, she got married. Sadly.
And your brain goes silly, doesn't it?
Yeah, soft. About 2 years later, sadly, she passed away. Prior to getting married, her children were looking at sharing the proceeds of £1 million house. After she passed away, the children end up sharing £365,000 between them.
Wow.
Because at the time, when she died, the will she had before became null and void. Because when you get married, any will you have beforehand, if it's not prepared in anticipation of getting married, it's null and void.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so she died intestate.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So
It's as good as having nothing then, isn't it?
That's right.
It's all quite clean.
Yeah.
Wow.
So her husband of 2 years inherited most of her estate, plus all of her 2 pensions, her 2 company pensions as well too.
So what do you do if you're getting married, you've met the love of your life at the moment in time, you're going to get married.
You get all the paperwork out.
You know, you had a will before, you get married. Well, how do you then prepare for that? Is it a case of
My advice
day
is,
after you get married, you're setting up a new will?
My advice is after the night before, phone me on a Monday morning and put a will in place just in case.
Right.
Okay, but also as well too, keep reviewing the situation, because sometimes things do change, and sometimes people walk into a situation and are blinded by what they see, and they think it will all come good in the night, but often it doesn't. So yes, marriage is a really great thing, and I'm all for it and so forth.
Most people go into marriage thinking it's going to last forever. We're not going to need David's services.
Exactly.
We're not going to be talking about this ever because my life is going to plan out in that way. Well, I'm 2 marriages down now.
But it's all about preparing, though, isn't it?
Mine didn't.
Just being ahead.
Yeah, but when you notice things are going awry, do seek advice and
Stop
help.
getting my paperwork out. David.
No, but as you said though, David, it's about you've got to keep reviewing.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's
I don't think people do enough.
an annual review in the same way that
That's
car
right.
service
That's right.
and
I
everything
mean, how
else.
many people review annually their pensions, death benefits?
No one. Ever.
They'll say, "What's that?" And you're quite right, because I had a case a few months ago when there was 3 pensions involved, and the wife said to me, "Dave, who does that?" I said, "Well, everybody does, because you review your car every year, and your car's liability, isn't it? One of your finances."
Yeah.
How many of you review your pension policies or your life policies if and when your marriage breaks down? You continue in that respect. And
Yeah, pensions we normally wouldn't we? You'd have an annual review with your
Do you?
advisor.
Have you?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Yeah, well, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Not
Do you
most people.
not?
No.
Do you leave your pensions?
I haven't reviewed mine for a few years.
Have
I
you
don't
not?
do it every year,
Yeah.
no, but after
Wow.
today I will be.
Do you want me to-
Yeah. So when do you recommend, David, that people do stuff like that?
If not yearly, I would say when you have major changes in your life, it's well worth doing it. We talk about for your wills, review your will, if not every 18 months, but every time you have a major change in your life. Maybe a new grandchild, you buy a new property, you come into some more money, anything that's material in your life, have it reviewed. Because
so we cut you off your story as well.
Yeah.
Of the 3 pensions. Sorry.
3 pensions, that's interesting. And the husband passed away. He had 3 pensions. What was quite sad was that one of the pensions was payable to his first wife, who at the death he wasn't married to her, so they couldn't pay it out to his current wife, nor to his first wife, because at death she wasn't a wife at all.
Oh, yeah.
So the last state of that matter was it's in dispute between the pension company and the family. The pension company quite within their rights because it's a trust, and the trust deeds did say payable to my wife named ABC, but she wasn't his wife at the date of death because he divorced her 10 years ago.
Wow.
So for 10 years there's been no review. We'll make choices. We'll make choices.
Bloody hell. So what happened then? Or is it still happening, isn't it?
Yeah, the pension company may relent and out of good faith and pay something to the wife, but they're not obliged
The
to.
first wife or the current?
No, the current
Yeah,
wife. But they're not obliged to, because the deeds does say payable to my wife named so and so. Yeah.
Wow.
So would that be then at the pension company's discretion? Who has the override?
Yeah,
Oh, is that
they're
their
trustee.
discretion
Yeah,
then?
because
Right, okay.
it's a trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it was me, I wouldn't pay it at all. If it was me, because they're not together anymore. So therefore, that's a misfortune. You know? It's about planning. Yeah. People spend lots of time planning their nights out, their weekend, their new shoes, their holidays.
More time, yeah.
Yeah, but do they ever plan their finances?
Yeah.
And the finances fund all these extravaganzas.
Yeah.
It's worth
And
thinking
I
about.
think this is what we want to get over to women, isn't it? It's to be more vigilant on what stuff that you've got together, what stuff, and really look at what your life is going to be like in another 20, 30 years' time. Because things are going to be very different, aren't they? There is going to be no state, realistically, there's going to be no state pension, is there? So
It'll be smaller.
Yeah, much smaller. But it's we have to look out for. I think I'm another 13 years. What am I now? 54. I think it's 68 now. They've moved my state pension up to. So there's not going to be money that they promise in now for that. So and that's why I would like us to look out for. All the little stuff that we need to review now while there's time to adjust and to move it somewhere with less fees or better managed funds or.
Yeah, the key thing is to start planning, not yesterday. The best time to start planning is always today, because the more you leave it, the more costly it becomes.
Yeah.
So it's about being proactive, rather than, I leave to my family to decide and so forth, because if you leave to your family to decide, well, that's another can of worms, another battlefield as well, because families, death and money is a cocktail pubs can't sell. It's too dangerous. They're not allowed to. It's too dangerous. So it's important to make sure, your planning is done well in advance, not the last minute, because it's very challenging out there for people in that respect. But also, if you're going to leave things to your loved ones, do you think about how you transfer your wealth down the line to your loved ones? Because there's a great tendency for people to say, I will give this cup to my first, or my second, or to my children. Well, by giving things away to somebody isn't really a great idea, I don't think. Because if I give this cup to Sharon, guess what? She can lose it, it can be stolen from her, and of course will split it in half. Yeah? Is that what you want? Imagine you give your house to your daughter, then after 2 years of happy marriage, she gets divorced and half the house goes.
That's how wealth goes out of families, isn't it?
So it's worth thinking about more tax efficient ways of transferring your wealth to your families. And inheritance tax is a starting point, but intergenerational wealth is the main key. And that's what we're looking at, not just inheritance, but transferring it down the line, trying to keep things in the families for longer.
And how do we do that, David? What's the best way?
The simplest way is think about trust planning. Although trust planning is important, I would advise you to get professional advice about your trust, because there's lots of misinformation being passed around, and also lots of nonsense being shown online as well too. I've got a great video on my phone that's been doing the rounds, and it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious, because it's misinformation at worst, rubbish at best, and so forth. But people come to you and say, Dave, this person says so and so, why can't I do it? Well, you can't do it because it's wrong, and wrong can't make things right.
So they look at stuff like that, and then they go and pass that information on, don't they?
That's
to
right.
their friends and their family.
That's right. And that's how the disease of misinformation continues.
Yeah.
Like the old Chinese whispers. Yeah. You say one thing, can't get down to something different. Because what I tell people, what you think you heard and what was said is not the same thing.
How we interpret things.
You see, what you heard, what was said, isn't the same. There was a dissonance in between. So remember that, that's very important. So the key thing is think about how you transfer your assets down the line to your loved ones.
And is this something that we can be at 54? Can I be doing this now, or do I have to? Does it have to be put in place when I'm dead? Can we truly plan?
Planning should always start when you're alive, because the whole point of planning is to ensure that when you're not here, okay, your assets goes to where you want to go, rather than left to the rules of intestacy. Okay. I mean, so it's about we plan now, and because a will is a will I tell people is a great tool. It's a tool that allows you to direct things from your grave, because you put in place plans now. So when you're not here, people adhere to it, and that's what it's about. And you can plan. The sooner you plan, the better, and that's going to be more important in later life, because the big CF. What's the big CF? Where have you been? Care fees. Care fees.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah, right.
We're not going there. We're going into a hotel. We're going to have bar service.
Yeah, care fees. Because if you need care in the future, and for example, you own a house jointly, you could see the majority of your house disappearing in care fees.
I've got two people going through this at the moment.
Also, as well, too, if you start planning a bit later than you need to, local authorities reserve the right to challenge you with legislation, in terms of you've changed your assets deliberately. So it's important to think about that as well too. Yeah.
What sort of period can they challenge that?
Well, if say you change your estate and you're going this year, you're going to here next year, okay, they can say to you that there was deliberate deprivation of assets against the local authority, and given lots of local authorities now are on life support, okay, then they will challenge you quite handsomely.
What are we talking, like the last couple of years?
Well, I would try and say, let's try and plan at least 7 years in advance if you can.
7 years is really hard.
So that's why you should start planning from today.
So when you said about, we should start planning, we're of a certain age now, so
Speak for yourself.
if you think about like the younger generation, is it a case of where when they start working and they're paying into a pension, they got to start from then? So whether you're starting at 18, 19, 20.
When you're young, okay, key things: pension, life insurance, because it's cheaper then, okay, and maintain that. You try getting life insurance now for 100,000 or £250,000. Yeah, you may have to pay it on late in the first month, but after that you can't pay anymore. Yeah, so it's important to start thinking very early.
Okay.
And transferring this knowledge down, and that's why financial education is so important. And I tell people, financial resources need to be planned very early in life, and you need to recognise the key things. Yeah, you're planning for the future. The future won't take care of itself, because today's acorn becomes tomorrow's oak tree. So if you want to end up with a large pile, you've got to start planning now for the future. So
the kids now, they've just got their first, they've come out of uni, they've got all this debt, and some of them have got 20, 30 grand's worth of debt. There's no way some of these kids at 22, 23, when they come out of uni, are going to have money to put into a pension. Or I know that companies do it now,
but you can opt
but
out.
the student debt is the best debt you have after bounce back loan. It's low debt, and you can still plan for it. And the best of the plan for it is when you get paid with a bank, have a direct debit standing going out straight away, so you don't touch it, so you don't see it. So that's the best way, And I mean, student debt isn't a problem. I don't think it's a low cost debt, and you can.
But it's still got to be paid, hasn't it? If you're working, it's still.
But if you navigate it rightly, it's a low cost debt. At the end of the day, it isn't the same as a credit card debt. That's silly money and so forth. I think So if you have in place key things you do at certain stages, and as you go along, okay, and continue to review. That's what it's all about. I think for people, especially for women as well too. And especially as women who seem often to be having to restart again from ground zero.
That happens a lot now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I've been through 2 marriages now, and I'm single now. But it's hard too. It's like you say, assess everything that you've had over all those marriages. I definitely didn't know that everything was null and void the minute you go and marry. So I'll bear that in mind for number 3.
But that's the rule. But number 3 will probably work. I mean, it's a learning experience, isn't it?
It is, and
the
it's
third time lucky.
Yeah. But it's for me, I get quite worried. You know, I'm 54. I get quite worried about. I don't want to be poor during you know my retirement years. I may never retire. I may semi-retire, but I also want to have that nice lifestyle and monies that we have around us now.
We've worked so
without
hard.
any of the early
And the
mornings.
best way now is, as I said at the beginning, it's why do you want that lifestyle? Okay. Once you know your why, you start with how you're going to achieve that and so forth. Then what steps you need to take, and to help you with those, make sure you have around you a team, because it's most unlikely you can do it by yourself. So have around you a financial team who can help you realise and achieve your goals.
Okay, where would I go and find that team, David?
Recommend,
Recommend.
you're starting in the best place
recommend him?
by speaking to myself.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a body of people we can refer to you as well too. Mortgage advisors, pension advisors as well too, and lawyers as well, and estate planning. So straight away, these are your core team you have around
cover
you.
all areas. Yeah.
Because there's a great myth in society: self-made person. There's no such thing.
No.
Okay, people stand on the shoulders of other people. So what you need around you to help you build, is your team, and review your team as you go along as well too. Yeah, and also review your position each time you make a change in life. Ask yourself, how can I do something different and improve it? Yeah, continual improvement.
Okay, so we've said about the minute you leave school or go from university, get into a company pension, because they pay half of it, don't they? So that's really good to get you on that rung. How about the empty nesters? So your kid's just gone off to uni, or you've gone through a divorce and you're starting again. What do you recommend for the 30, 40, 50-year-old woman that is going to go through that? Where do you start? Say you've had nothing. You've just left it because your asset was going to be your house that you sell. Can you start with a pension at 30, 40, 50?
I would say, you can always start with a pension. Pension is always a great tax efficient tool to have for yourself and so forth, because the sooner you start, the better, because it gives you time to build up. And with pension, you get a lovely tax-free contribution as well too. So people say things like, "Oh, my property's my pension." Well,
Yes.
I disagree.
That's said quite a lot still, isn't it?
Well, it is, because that's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
The only thing they have in common is the first letter P.
Yeah.
After the P, they diverge.
Yeah.
Because the tax rules are quite different. The benefits of pensions, tax-wise, and property is quite different. So therefore, property can't be a pension, because you can't transfer your property onto your children after you pass away, like your pension can as well too. So you're better off making sure you have a pension plan in place, to make sure
So
you
whatever
have
age,
solid ground and build up from that, rather than hoping and praying and speculating. And too many people, have this idea, and they listen to their friends or their mate, or Joe down at the pub, or Paul over the garden fence, or Jean down at the laundrette, and they say, "Oh yeah, we're doing so and so." Well, it's not always true, because again,
people bluff a lot, don't they?
that's right.
Yeah.
What you hear they say isn't what they're really doing. Because
Yeah.
often themselves, they're not sure what they're doing
Yeah.
for themselves. So the starting point must always be a pension, and also continue to ask yourself, what do I actually have in place, and how can I start planning to achieve whatever? Because although you may have very little today, it doesn't mean that's your destination.
And we're all living longer now, aren't we? We're all living, the standard pension age, I think for me now, is 68, but there's going to be, we're going into our 90s, so the pension companies have got a big,
90-year-old babies.
they've got a big job in having to find all this extra money, haven't they? We went through the baby boom as when we were born, but there aren't enough kids being born either to be paying into the national insurance system, and
That's why they say now everyone's got to have a pension, isn't it? So you've got
you've got
work-based
to.
pensions. Every company's got to provide a starter pension for.
Well, the state pension was never operated like a pension scheme, because the state pension was merely a pool of money where money went in one week and it went out the same week as well too.
Yeah.
And we quite people pay into it and so forth. And as we see less people coming around and so forth, what's coming in is getting much
Not
slower
really fast
than what's
enough,
coming
is it?
out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
therefore, it's imperative that people start thinking about how do they protect themselves and see the state pension as a bonus or something on top,
Yeah.
and start planning.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as Diana Ross said in '74, I think it was Mahogany. She said, "Yeah, do you know where you're going to? Because things life is showing you, and that's when you ask yourself, do you know where you're going to, and do you like what things are showing you down the road at 68? That pension figure, do you like that? If you don't like it, change it now.
But you can't live on that, can you?
No.
What if you still got a mortgage at that age?
You're unlucky."
Yeah. Right, so mid-50s, you can still start a pension. What other things can you recommend that a 50-year-old male or female could start? If you've got nothing at all, would you put into an ISA or?
I would say the best thing you could do is speak to a financial advisor who can give you the right advice on those things, because I would say quite neatly, as a non-financial advisor, I couldn't recommend what you should do and shouldn't do. All I would say to you, I would direct you to go and see a financial advisor. Hence why I say to you, it's imperative you have a balanced team around
Yeah.
you, and that's what I do.
And not listen to your mates.
Yeah, yeah. Your
Because
mates,
everyone knows best, don't
your
they?
mates often the least qualified in
Yeah.
the things they're advising you about,
Yeah.
avidly. You know, they often know least about what they're so passionate about.
Yeah. Or their mate has told them, or, head down the pub last week.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've done life cover as well.
Yeah.
And beneficiaries, you mentioned the story about the beneficiaries being changed.
Well, life cover is important, okay, because most people have life cover, or lots of people have life cover. They need to make sure the life cover isn't payable to them or their estate. Why? Simply, if you've got life cover and it's payable to yourself on your death, goes to your estate, well, straight away, that's attracting tax at 40%, which is perhaps a waste of your money. You want to make sure your life cover has named beneficiaries and goes outside of that. And also as well too, you may want to review who it's going to, because you say people do fall out.
Yeah.
You know, it may be your first husband, your second husband, or your third husband, or your fourth cousin removed and so forth, but things change over life. So therefore, that's why it's
And people
important.
die as well,
If you
don't they?
review it.
Yeah.
So it's key.
Yeah.
Name
Yeah.
beneficiary is key.
Yeah.
Your name into.
Yeah.
I've got a 28-year-old daughter. What should you give your children access to while you're living? Should you tell them about what pensions, what pots, what life assurance? Should you tell them what they're going to come into, or is that a no-no?
I think not, because my great concern is that one of the biggest challenges nowadays, as someone who deals with it quite a bit, is family fraud. And I like the chap who said that he's leaving things to his children, and he's left them a trust. They can inherit it at 40. And people might think 40,
That's quite a nice age, though, isn't
but the reason he says 40 is that they've made enough mistakes in their life, okay, and they should be quite savvy now to be in charge of their assets in that respect. But if you tell somebody or let them know in advance, okay, that may stop their drive,
it? Yes.
and they may sit and wait
I'm
to
gonna
go,
be okay because.
or they may well help you go a bit sooner.
Yeah.
So
So you're allowed to talk about that story? You've got a story about that, haven't you?
no. It may be best, okay, if you don't tell them what they have, but perhaps help them by putting things in place for them for when you're not here as well too. And also do think about how much money you've got, and rather than leave until you pass away to hand things across to them, maybe you want to do so in life. But the big thing is, and the big thing I think about, is giving things to your children. And you need to be quite astute on how you transfer your hard-earned wealth to your next generation.
Are you talking jewellery? Are you talking money? Or
I'm more concerned about large amounts of money or property, okay? Because how many times have you seen hard-working Mr. and Mrs. blogs hand over, let's say, a property to their son or daughter, they got married, and marriage doesn't work out, and half of that house goes up to the other side. If you pass away, wherever you are, you'll come back.
I'm coming back.
So it's important to think about how you do so, and do think about giving things away tax efficiently, and that's why you can't be getting good professional advice from a financial
So
advisor.
it's not so easy to give a property away, but how about for jewellery and money and things? What are the guidelines for that? 'Cause they all have an asset
The
value.
guideline is making whatever you do give away, make sure you survive for 7 years.
Right.
If you don't survive for 7 years, it can still be in your estate and be taxable as well too. So the key thing is to give things away to 7 years.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but you mentioned about jewellery. How would someone, say you had a watch, how would someone know? Like, I've got a watch and I've given it to my niece or nephew.
Yeah.
My niece.
You got a nice Rolex.
Yeah.
You give it to them.
You've given it away.
Yeah.
How would someone know then that? And I've died like 3 years later. How would someone
Yeah.
know that I've given that
That they've
jewellery?
not stolen
And
it.
it's,
Yeah.
how would they? Is it because it's?
Good question. You may not know, okay. However, if when you pass away, the person in your probate asks the right questions, it may arise then. Yeah, they might say, "Oh, mum had this, and she gave it away." Oh, that's interesting. Let's go that as well too. Yeah, because when you pass away, the key thing is you go through the person's estate, and also you go through in the last 7 years. Did that person give away anything, money or whatever?
Okay.
Yeah.
So should we be keeping spreadsheets
I was going to
ourselves?
say, we need to document that.
I love a spreadsheet. Should we? Ourselves? We don't know when
I
we're
mean, I
going
haven't
to
got, I
die,
haven't
do
got
we?
any jewellery to give away.
If that's your thing, I would
Yeah.
say I'd say yes. But just keep a note of what you have at certain points in your life as
Because
well
we all
too.
inherit stuff as well.
Yeah.
You know, we've all got stuff inherited from our
Yeah.
grandmothers and mothers and stuff.
And the key thing is in that case is dates of when you give things away,
Yeah.
because that's important, or when you inherit stuff, because they can come or may fall into your estate later on as
So
well
it's
too.
the executor that may come after like you've
What?
passed away. It's down to the executor then, isn't it?
It's their job to put together the estate, and they, along with the person in the probate, will do the necessary due diligence and report to IHT for the taxes and pay the taxes before the grant of probate or administration is obtained.
Wow, it's quite scary stuff, isn't it? There's a lot to think about as well,
There's
isn't
so
there?
much to think about.
Yeah, I think we definitely need to do it. Not for you, because you do it every day.
I mean,
But
I
for
thought
the-
I knew quite a bit, but now I've
Yeah.
certainly learned some stuff today as well.
Yeah. Well, thank
I'm
you.
always learning myself. I'm not a clue.
Anything else, David, that you want to tell our listeners?
The other thing I would think is about the main thing to do is always keep records and also always think about why you're doing things as well too. And it's never too early to plan. Yeah, procrastination is often the thief of time, and procrastination can lead you to paying more inheritance tax than you need to and paying the price later on. So procrastination can cost you dearly tomorrow.
Okay, so just a quick recap then, that we're going to have, we should be looking at pensions, life assurance, loss in power of attorney.
Planning for uncertainty
Yeah.
and uncertainty. Uncertainty is last power of attorney. Planning for certainties in life, which is death. So you need to think about having things like pensions, life assurance, wills, trust in place. Also, how you own your assets as well too. How you own your bank accounts and how you own any asset as well too, like property. And that's important because if you don't own it, if you own it jointly, it can have impact on you in later on when you pass away.
Wow. So yeah, lots to think about. Thank you very much, David.
Thank
for
you,
coming
thank
to see
you,
us
thank
today.
you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
It's going to give me sleepless nights now. I don't know about you, Sarah.
I have more time. I never sleep. And how do I look?
Handsome, darling.
He looks.
Stunning.
You're not bonkers, you know.